NSFW, what is the worst thing you've ever seen or heard in a game of truth or dare? When I was about 15 years old, my HS soccer team had a co-ed, girls guys team, spaghetti dinner that turned into a co-ed sleepover. Maybe about 6 guys and 5 girls. We ended up taking a bottle of really cheap Mr. Boston vodka from this kid's parents and all of us began drinking much faster than 15-year-olds should. I was begging to feel pretty nauseous but was determined to stay in the game of truth or dare that we had started. I was then dared to kiss the bare ass cheek of one of the more crew chicks on the girls team. As I pressed my lips to her cheek, she thought it would be hilarious to grab the back of my head and rip ass right in my face. The heat and smell were too much for my stomach to bear, and as I pulled away I barfed all over her back and ass. She totally deserved it. I got dared to use a zipline that nobody had likely touched in decades. So we climbed up a mountain while wasted in the middle of the night. Found that my friend was not bullshitting and that it actually did exist. Used our zip on it and sailed over a 1500-foot drop. And then the thought occurred to me that I had no way of getting back. And I had not even brought a flashlight with me. And had absolutely no knowledge of part of the mountain I was on. So I basically stood in place for 7 hours or so. I don't know if that was the worst, but it was definitely the most stupid. Especially considering that the whole point of the game was to get with some girls who were no longer in a partying mood after I disappeared into the night. Genius move by your friend. One of my mates said he had his cock pierced and nobody believed him, as he'd sometimes exaggerate make-up stories. To prove it, he put a straw through the piercing. And then another of my mates was dared to drink his drink through the cock straw. It was hilarious. And weird. And both parties regretted it immediately. Was playing truth or dare with a few friends. My best friend. And my best friend's wife. When they married, they were both virgins by choice. From a traditional household. We're having fun and it comes to my turn. I ask my best friend's wife truth or dare. She answers truth. My friend and I would always joke about our so's despising an LSX. And being disgusted by it. So I asked as a joke. Have you ever had an LSX? Yes. She answers. Her husband turns bright red and says no, we haven't. The two leave shortly after. Turns out she was a traditional virgin but had lost her AHM. An L virginity back in high school. We didn't really talk after that. The old poop hole loophole. A bit late, but my friend answered a truth and told everyone that he has 2 buttholes. Long story short, I've seen it and the guy has M. Edit. What I've learned is there are many damn people with 2 assholes. Color me surprised. Calling you doubled dude. Really drunk. At a house party in high school. This hot girl named Jennifer took a truth. So. The question was what her worst SZOL experience had been. The answer devolved into a criffest about how she had actually been forcibly uphead by her stepbrother. After that, we didn't play that game very much anymore. When I was 17, I worked as a summer camp counselor. The week of our orientation, before the campers arrived, all of the counselors were down by the lake when we started the game of truth or dare. Everybody was pretty normal except for this quiet girl that was a Disney freak. Everything Disney. Pajamas. Sleeping bag. Wet ties. T-shirts. All Disney. All the time. Being 17 years old's up in the woods, our truths and dares turned SZOL pretty quickly. After finishing my dare, I turned to her and asked truth or dare? Truth. Was the reply. Okay. Have you ever had sex? I asked. Yes. But only with one person. My father. It started when I was 12. Game. Ducking. Over. Edit. For the people asking for a follow-up, many of the female counselors and naturalists spoke with her that night and the next morning. Her father had been jailed a few years prior to her telling us. One dare was to bake cookies whilst nude. But then we were out of sugar, so a follow-up dare required a second person going to the neighbor's door in underwear to ask for a cup of sugar. It worked and the cookies were delicious. Grad student neighbors didn't even bat an eye. They were probably like those undergrad bucks. Oh well. Back to studying. Man. Life sucks. Source. Was a grad student. Hated it. Was jealous of undergrads and their shenanigans. Did it. Holy shit. I've been gilded. All that suffering in grad school has finally been worth it. Thank you. Whoever you are. Fairly tame but seasonally timely. In high school, a group of friends were playing Todd drunk after a party at my house. One of my friends had a crush on a girl and was trying hard to get with her. So when it was her turn to ask him, he suavely stated dare. She told him to put one of the lights adorning the nearby Christmas tree into his decal. He did. She was disgusted and ended up loudly hooking up with another friend in an adjacent room, like soul-crushingly loud, while he sat on the couch nursing his burnt meatus. 'Tis the season, I guess. One time I was dared to kiss this girl and I passed because I was in a long-going relationship with a girl I really love. 3 years, and so I did this instead. I poured really hard rum on my hand and lit it. I had to keep it lit for as long as I could. Once it got too hot to handle, I had to put it out. Part of the dare though was to put it out with the watermelon next to us. So I proceeded to punch it open with my flaming fist and stick my hand in it for 3 long annoying sticky hours. You punched a hole in a watermelon with fire. That is amazingly badass. I was at a truth or dare party in college. Everyone pays $5 to get in and gets the same allotment of Monopoly money. You bet people to do things and accept bets, and whoever has the most at the end of the night got to keep the door. Greatest party ever. I just dared girls to make out with me all night. Until I ran out of money. So I had to accept a couple dares. Someone dared this other guy to eat a zebra cake off my ass. And dared me to drop Tro and allow him to. I figured. I'm not eating it. No big deal. It wasn't that terrible. But it did get my ass all sticky. I also felt like I couldn't really complain. Because of what the other guy had to do. I wasn't participating. But there was one weird night when one of my daughters had a bunch of friends over. My wife and I were sitting downstairs while they were up in her room apparently playing truth or dare. Over the course of a couple hours we experienced some pretty weird stuff. 2 of my daughter's friends came running downstairs and started twerking before running off again. My daughter came down and said, "Mommy. Daddy. I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant because I'm a WHRE." Later we heard a splash outside by the pool, and a minute later a couple girls come running into the house wrapped in towels and dripping wet. I had to go tell them to not jump out the window anymore, and that pretty much stopped the shenanigans. Mommy. Daddy. I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant because I'm a WHRE. Without looking up from your paper book. That's nice, honey. Make sure to feed. Walk. And pick up after it. Oh god. I have a daughter. I had honestly never thought about her playing truth or dare. This whole page is terrible now. A girl at a party I once went to got dared to sit on a small lava lamp. As in. Sit on it if you get what I mean. Anyway. This thing was on. And hot. Poor girl sat for 2 seconds and jumped right back up. Turned out she gave herself burns on the inside of her lady parts. Duck that. She doesn't love lamp. Edit. Awesome. Thanks for the gold. My friends and I dared a kid to snort a bit of very hot sauce. He snorted it like a champ, then spent the rest of the night with blood pouring from his face. A 7th grade. What were we thinking? I once witnessed a grown white man with a full beard swap clothes with a 16-year-old Chinese girl. We all lost a bit of pride that day. It wasn't really a dare. But a drunken friend said he'd show us how much of a man he was. In quick succession he chugged about 250 milliliters of Jack Daniels. Snorted a line of salt and poured vinegar into one eye and squeezed a lemon in the other. Everybody laughed at him because he had to run to the bathroom crying to wash his eyes. I think he was trying to do a cowboy shot. Except our version is you take a shot. Snort a line of salt. Get punched in the face. Then squeeze a lemon into your eye. I saw a prolapsed anus as proof for a truth that no one would believe. It was not a pretty flower. I got really drunk in a game with some workmates and I had to get out my testicles and touch them against one of the other guy's testicles. Probably pretty tame compared to what else will be on this thread. It's not gay unless the balls to. Went to a kinky elf party once for Christmas. Good mix of a crowd until we all got shitty-faced. Some guy got dared to be blindfolded and get blown by some random girl. Guy at the party who had always denied being gay decided it would be funny to blow him. That's how my friends Tom and Chad met and got married. One of the popular girls in my high school admitted to regularly pooping in her hand. She took truth and was asked to tell an embarrassing secret or something like that. She said that she was always embarrassed whenever there was a splashing sound in the toilet when she went to poop. So she'd always poop in her hand and then slide it quietly into the water. She went from being a popular girl to being the hand poop girl pretty quick. Edit. Thank you for the gold. Kind stranger. I'd shake your hand but I've learned that it's best not to. Funny she was embarrassed enough of pooping to do that. But not embarrassed to tell it. Comma slided quietly into the water. That's beautiful. Like launching a tiny model sailboat on its maiden voyage. Bon voyage and Godspeed thine tiny poop. May the seas be calm and our sails be ever filled with wind. That's what toilet paper is for. You have to lay the foundation before you set the beams. Edit. Gold. Thank you Reddit gods. A friend of mine back in high school was asked where the weirdest place he had ever masturbated was. His answer was a train, which really isn't too weird, still pretty weird, but he then, for whatever reason, didn't stop there and told us where he put the mess. Afterwards, when then train staff came through, he ducking ate it. Again. He just told that last part without anyone even asking. Just can't waste those games, eh? We were on our way to Hershey Park for the 8th grade class trip. All the cool kids sat in the back of the bus. Somehow I got a seat back there too. It began as a silly middle school game of truth or dare until this girl was dared to give some dude head for 2 minutes. And then, a few turns later, she was dared to do it again. To a different boy. I was an innocent cream puff Casper milk toast. Having never seen anything like this outside of PRN, I was in shock. Not super risque, but it gave her the funniest nickname for the next 4 years in high school. Doubleheader. An entire room of girls had to rub a 5-35 gel on their bags. There was silence. And then screams. You probably won't believe me, but here it is anyway. Friend 1. Never have I ever killed someone. Friend 2 goes stone-faced. Friend 3. Friend 2. Shouldn't you drink? Friend 2. Duck. You. And she chugged her drink and walked off. That's how I found out about that story. It was self-defense. Her best friend was ARPed and killed in front of her eyes. She got his gun from him and shot him. Cops came busting in. Someone had called in due to the screaming. She was freaked out because she was 15 and had just killed a man. And thinking the cop was another attacker, accidentally shoots him too. I knew she had done something unspeakable and that she was on a very long probation for it. But phew. Heavy shitty. I watched my friend take a shitty in the park. Then we threw rocks at it. I miss being a teenager. Then we threw rocks at it. Ah. By the end of the game, there were a bunch of naked people in a hot tub basically ducking each other. It had evolved from a harmless game to a full-on orgy. Someone hits us with a flashlight and one girl says, "Get that ducking light out of here, you ducking piece of shitty." Not the best thing to say to the cops, I'll tell you. When asked to present a deep secret about themselves, one of the really hot girls, this was high school, straight up admitted to using whipped cream to get her cat, and their tongues like sandpaper. To lick her. The awkwardness escalated exponentially like a nuke in the room. During my time in the Navy, I ended up at a party with a group of maybe 10 people. It was a mixed group of males and females. Also Navy personnel and civilians. After a few hours of normal party hanging out, the game started. It went downhill fast and ended with a co-ed naked wrestling tournament. Co-ed naked wrestling tournament. That's the best way to describe an orgy, if you ask me. When I was 16, I played Truth or Dare whilst really drunk. Bad mistake. I got asked what the most humiliating thing I've ever done was. Well, drunk me thought telling people about the time I had a wank and managed to unload so hard I covered my own face was a good idea. Never lived it down. I bet they call you Jizbert. Ha. He. Is it bad that I haven't had one of these experiences but I'm totally wishing for it to happen? No. I once gave a friend 2 dares in a row. 1. I dared him to drink 6 cups of water. 2. You little devil. You. The best truth I have heard came about 6 years ago. A girl walked in on her parents having sex with another couple. Edit. Whoa. I can't believe the number of votes. Thank you. For those asking. Amongst the group of us playing at the time, a friend of this person knew about this story, so asked if she had ever seen her parents had sex. She just elaborated slightly from the simple yes answer. Warning. Sad. We were teens. High on hormones. I dared Mick to put his pet gerbils down his boxers. He did cause he had a crush on me. One of them died of fright. The pregnant female one. It still haunts me. If I could change one thing in my life, it would be that. I was dared to hump this big tree in the front yard. Not that bad. The problem was that I was wearing short shorts and I ran to the tree and jumped as high as I could. I started humping, but while doing that I slid down the tree with my bare legs. Both of my thighs were severely scarped up. Technically this is totally the best, but my boyfriend was dared to swap underwear with me for a good half hour. I was wearing a thong. Buddy with a stun gun for dared to let his girlfriend zap him that same night. It was a good night. I was wearing a thong. Before or after the swap? Truth. Got asked to read out my Azul bucket list. And then tell everyone which ones I'd completed. Then for the rest of the night, dares centered around helping me cross more of them off. It was pretty neat. Classmates were playing Truth or Dare. A girl got dared to lick the inside of a guy's belly button. It was both hilarious and revolting. Edit. This guy just came out with a gun LLYRP'd me when I was really drunk. Super serious. Then was just like next. And no one really raised it because he was just acting like nothing was said. The next time he said he wanted a exchange, again. Serious. Despite not ever acting overtly feminine or ever mentioning that before or after. He said he'd been wanting it for ages. Well, not worst. But I got laid once because of it. Went over to a girl's house to watch a few movies at her place. Finished both movies. She asked me to play Truth or Dare. Why not? Right? Lol. So we did a few stupid dares. Then I dared her to take off her shirt. She said she would. But only if I give her a massage with these massage oils. So she had me turn around while she took her shirt off. I fully expected her to be laying down on her stomach. But nope, there were her magnificent DD breasts looking right at me. Was a good night. Edit. Yup. I know Truth or Dare had nothing to do with this. She just wanted some, but that was her way of getting things going. Played Truth or Dare in high school at a New Year's party one year. The party was being held in a heated greenhouse on a friend's animal farm. It came to be my turn. And I chose Dare. I was dared to streak the perimeter of the entire farm property. In a foot of snow, with it easily being in the low 20s or teens outside. I totally owned that. Stripped. And ran the entire perimeter of the 12+ acre animal farm as naked in the middle of the night. You did not run half a mile naked and in a foot of snow, man. Played in a friend's van in high school. It was 3 guys and 2 girls, including me. There were the usual dares. Girls kiss. Guy and girl kiss. Girls play with each other's boobs. Finally the girls decided we wanted to see all the guys' packages. Full hard on. Guy was refusing. Downright saying he wouldn't. His buddies were goading him. Say he had a micropnus. Couldn't get it up. The laundry list. Well. The girls finally coaxed him into it with some making out. And he whipped it out. It was massive. Like disgustingly so. It was terrible just thinking about it. Like 3 Coke cans stacked together massive. Most guys think that'd be awesome. But this poor guy knew it was actually a turn off for most women. Other than fetish girls, that wasn't his bag. No one he'd ever been with was willing to go anywhere with him solely because it was just too much to even think about handling. I felt really bad for him. But his buddies did shut their traps rather quickly. I was dared to whip it out and do helicopter DCK once. It was fun and all. But I'm a grower, so it didn't really do much. Some people made fun of it, but I did get laid later on and the girl made sure to let everyone know it gets bigger. Good times. She was a good friend. Yay helicopter DCK. I was playing with friends in high school and me and another friend got challenged to a cockfight. Whoever DCK hurt more lost. I won because I have nerve damage in most of my body. I confessed to being a virgin, age 22, during a truth or dare several years ago. Pretty kinky. My extensive experience in pop culture leads me to assume the girls present offered to collectively change that fact. Is this valid? I had this dumb friend. Not someone who is handicapped. But just as dumb as a box of hair. I convinced him that LSD was made with jalapeno peppers. That somehow evolved to convincing him that if he cut open a jalapeno and rub it on his eye, that would cut directly to the chase and give him the most intense trip ever. The sound of our laughter was quickly drowned out by blood-curdling screams. I let a male friend of mine pee on my shoulder. I'm a girl. It was a lot of pee. And it was hot. His girlfriend had already passed out. But her sister, who did not like me, woke her up and told her that her BF was peeing on me. By the time she got up, I had taken off my pee-soaked shirt and was sitting at the table in my bra. Long story short, she was not happy about any of this and she kicked everyone out of the house. Overall, it was really fun night. My favorite truth to ask. How would you eat each person in the room? If you had to consume, cook, and prepare a meal of your friend, what part of their body would you pick? And even, what drink would you pair them with? Also, this thread is just making me horny. My at the time 12-year-old older brother made out with our 20-year-old babysitter. This wasn't really truth or dare, I guess. Just truth. There was 5 of us. And for the past year at school, we'd hung out a lot. Kind of became a thing for us 5 to go down to a place in town and smoke a few joints. One time, whilst skinning up, one of us asked, "What's one thing you've never told anyone?" Apostrophe. It went round the circle. But I can honestly not remember what any of us said apart from our friend Dave, not real name, who hit us with, "I once had sex with my sister." After having sat there in stunned silence for a while. My, to this day, best friend Andy said, "You will never speak of this again." And in silence, we walked back to school wondering what the duck else our incestuous friend hadn't told us. For what it's worth, his sister was ducking hot.